Here are the most common mistakes that accounting students, that's ACCA and CIMA, make when preparing for their exams, so you can avoid them and pass first time. If you find any of these tips useful, make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channels and check us out on other social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram, as we provide lots of free training materials and study guides for students preparing for accounting exams. Let's move on to our first mistake that students make when preparing for exams, and that is mismanaging their time. Specifically, in this case, we're talking about mismanaging their time when taking practice exams. Often, when students come to us with an issue during their practices, it's that they're running out of time, particularly in high-level accounting exams. Now, there is a bit of a trick of the trade here, and that is, during exams, particularly high-level accounting exams, the examiner is not expecting you to give a perfect answer every single time. So how do we implement this in practice? Well, for every exam we have our allocated marks per minute. So say we have 90 marks available for a 60-minute exam, we need to be scoring 1.5 marks per minute. So say our question is worth 30 marks, then that means we have 20 minutes to write it, including planning. And we want to stick to this. We want to stick to our allocated amount of time, and then once that's up, we move on to our next question. What happens very often is students get stuck on one question, whether it's because it's hard or it's their favorite one, and they forget that this is a balancing act. The best way to learn to do this is through practice. So make sure you're strict with yourself when taking those mock exams and move on when the time is up. Mistake number 2 is not answering the question in the paper and instead answering the question you want to be in the paper. A little trick to overcome this is during those first few seconds when you read the question, have a highlighter handy or whatever tool it is in the online examination portal that you're using, and highlight the key parts of the question as you read it in order to reinforce the words that are on the page with the meaning that you are creating in your mind by reading them. I like to recommend to my students to do is focus on those keywords in the question. Whether it's an explain question, an analyze question, whatever it is telling you, those verbs are telling you exactly what you need to do. And often it might reference the information that you need to bring in order to complete those verbs. If becoming an accountant was all about memorizing the information given to you in your study texts, then the examiner would just present you with a blank piece of paper, a pen, and tell you to go at it. Well, there are a number of methods we can integrate into our preparation to do this. A great one is, as we've discussed a little bit already, taking those past exams, because questions in these exams may often draw from a number of different topics, subject areas, and bring them into one, asking you to do the same with your knowledge. A second way to do this may be to teach other people. Now, what we do at Astranti is provide really high quality study texts and tuition guides in order to make sure that information is presented in such a way that is understandable and digestible by you guys. Perhaps you could take this even further, and if you've got a sibling or someone that you could perhaps bother for a minute and try to explain a really complicated topic to them so that they perhaps might be able to understand it in a little bit more detail. In doing this, you'll be able to make those cognitive connections in your mind between the information and perhaps drawing in from those other subject areas to reinforce that, so that when it comes to the exam, it's all there up here ready for you to get cracking on your answers. Number 4, learn how to write good plans. Now, 2 mistakes ago, we talked about interpreting the question and making sure you're reading what's there, not what you want. And a plan is the next step of writing those answers. You spend a lot of time in your preparation phase making sure you have lots of different plans. So go to your exam board, find those past papers or those example papers, and then plan them. Plan them all, every single question in them. And then you will have a bank full of plans from lots of different areas in the syllabus, answering lots of different circumstances and questions. And you can revise from that, and you'll be able to draw lots of information and ideas through questions that may be adjacent to what you face in the exam, or even something completely different but you think might add value and there might be marks available for it. It's essentially a perfect strategy for you to be able to face those questions in the exam and avoid things coming up that you perhaps do not understand or are not prepared for. And then finally, I'd like to talk about stress. Now, it's not necessarily fair to call stress a mistake so much as students, we often come under pressure from time in our preparation or during the exam or unforeseen circumstances. Stress is a factor of life. But when it comes to exam preparation, it's only going to get in the way. It's only going to make you procrastinate or overthink things. And what we want to be doing is be dialed in, nice and focused, hyper-focused on our objective of passing this exam. Now, a couple of things that I'd like to recommend here is, of course, the standard stuff. Make sure you're eating well, sleeping well, meditation. Make sure you're able to compartmentalize the exam to the time that you're preparing for it. So you have your set out timings, you have your exam preparation, you have the allotted hours that you're going to spend revising each subject or each chapter. And then outside of that time, you're not thinking about the exam. Don't let it play on your mind. Make sure you're spending lots of time with your friends or your family or doing activities that you'd like to do. And then when it comes to the exam, this is the tip that I give to all my students. And that is to, once you get into the exam and the examiner says go, or the timer starts ticking down on the platform that you're working on, just take a minute. Take a beat to sit there and just relax and to not allow yourself to feel pressurized by that ticking timer. Now, obviously, we need to get on with it eventually, but by taking those first 30 to 60 seconds just to acclimatize, just to sit there, just to relax and prepare yourself for what you're about to take, making sure you're reassuring yourself that you've done the necessary preparation, that you have the skill set and the knowledge by which you can tackle this exam and pass it first time, then the 59 minutes that follow it are so much clearer, so much more focused, and so much less stressful. So I'd like to thank you all for watching this video today, and there'll be lots more content helping you pass your ACCA or CIMA exams going forward, so why not, as I say again, hit the subscribe and the like button if you got anything out of this, and we'll see you in the next one.